All right, so this one is probably going to be a little shorter than most of the shit I make because I'm going to try to keep the rambling to a minimum. And we have a pretty specific topic. But this is just something that popped into my head. It's not something that there was a specific impetus for. But the question of like, how hard should I train? How seriously should I take it, etc. Regarding self-defense type stuff. For me, I was just thinking about this a moment ago. Uh, so let me rewind a bit. I started training in Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu in April of 2021, if I remember correctly. So it's been a couple of years. Which in the grand scheme of things, 2 years for these martial arts is not a long period of time. I would still classify myself as a beginner. 2 years of this training puts me, of course, well ahead of somebody who hasn't trained at all. Um, but compared to other people who have, had this as a hobby in their lives for a decent period of time, 2 years is nothing. So let me just clear up a misconception right then and there. You're not going to get like good in 2 years. You're definitely going to be good compared to somebody who's never set foot in a fucking gym or dojo or whatever, but you're not going to be like a Muay Thai guy in 2 years, first of all. Um, so the way I see it is that self defense is a high stakes game. I feel like a lot of people approach self defense as like a back burner thing if they think about it at all. And I think that's really the complete opposite of the approach that you should take, to be honest. Because I feel like most people think that the people that train the hardest, that have the most reason to train the hardest, are competitors. People who want to compete in the sport professionally or at least on the amateur level are going to train harder than anyone else. And in my experience, that's generally true. But I just question why that should be. Um, because, a competitor, if they lose, they lose a title, they lose money, they lose their reputation. But for me, I have no intention of ever competing. I've been on and off hormones since 2015, but I would never compete in a women's division. Even if they let me, I wouldn't want to. It's just not something that I would want for myself. I consider myself male, even though when I say hormones, I mean estrogen and testosterone blockers. I'm a femboy, not a trans woman, so I consider myself male. Um, and if you ask me, trans women or women, I'm not. I'm not one of those people. Regardless, I wouldn't compete against women. I would be competing against men, but I think I would be at a distinct disadvantage because of my history with hormones, but also because up until the age of 26, 27, I was huge. In high school, I was around 400 pounds for most of my high school experience. And that's just been a thing like around five is when I first got big. I want to say in like sixth grade or something, I was wearing a men's 3X shirt in US sizes. So I've been huge forever, and it has done permanent damage to my body. Like I notice I don't have very good range of motion in my hips, for example. My ankles pop constantly as I walk, regardless of how I walk or whatever shape I'm in now. Um, I sound like a fucking skeleton from Skyrim when I walk, and I think that's just because I spent so much of my life huge, and it took a toll on my joints and shit. Um, and so yeah, I've got a lot of makeup work still yet to do in terms of cardio. I have decently strong legs because they've been carrying my giant body around for most of my life. But aside from that, like I'm well behind the curve in a lot of ways. Fucking hell, I just got like a huge spasm in my forehead. And so I think yeah, I competition is out the window for me. I'm 28 years old now. Um, I missed that boat. I don't think that's something I would ever, be in a position to feasibly do. Maybe on an amateur level, if I tried really hard, I would have a chance against some of the other fighters, but I think most people would crush me. So I have no intention of competing. But the thing is, when I train, what I'm training for is a hypothetical scenario in which I might die. If I lose this fight, this hypothetical fight that I'm preparing for, it's not a title on the line, it's not money on the line, it's my life. And quite frankly, I'm in a position nowadays, or really always, where I don't value my life that much. I don't particularly enjoy much of anything. Even when I play video games or whatever, it's not something that makes me happy. It's something that keeps me distracted. Um, I enjoy the time that I spend with my girlfriend and my friends, but I don't get to see any of them very often, neither my girlfriend or my friends. My girlfriend and I are separated by a couple states of distance at the moment because I had to basically pack up and move quick like to get away from where I was living because there were no work opportunities for me there after I left my last job. Um, so I haven't seen her in months, and I'm struggling to save up money to move her up here with me. And my friends are all fucking busy. I'm busy as shit. Um, so yeah, my life is not something that I necessarily treasure a whole lot. But it still bothers me greatly, the idea that somebody could just take that from me. The idea that my agency, my right to determine my own fate could just be taken from me by a stranger, or maybe not even a stranger, maybe somebody that I know. But especially being like visibly queer, in a time where people are shooting up power stations to stop drag shows from happening, um, it feels particularly relevant that I might want to know some things about defending myself. And quite frankly, that's why, like, if you're not familiar with my channel, this is the first video of mine that you're seeing. I have a weight loss vlog series going on where I went from just over 400 pounds. That was before I started. When I really started in earnest, I was 389. Right now, I'm in the 190s. And I did that without surgery and without any sort of like Ozempic or whatever, the Wegovy or whatever it's called, the the one version of it's the same medication basically. I didn't use any of that shit, and I lost nearly 200 pounds, and I did that because of this that we're talking about right now, because I knew that I was slow as fuck and I had like no gas tank because of all the excess weight that I was carrying was just dragging me down, and that bothered the fuck out of me. And so I did something about it. I lift weights for the same fucking reason. You want to be strong if you're going to be fighting for your life. I do like calisthenics type shit to work on my like muscular endurance. I run and all kinds of stuff like that to work on my cardio endurance. I show up to my Muay Thai, boxing, and Jiu-Jitsu classes because you need your technique. Technique is kind of king of everything, but your conditioning is still vital too. You don't want to overlook anything. I really need to work out my sleep because sleep is vital to your physical recovery from all of this conditioning and training, and it keeps you mentally sharp. And I'm still working in a factory on top of all of this. I'm part-time right now, so I'm maxing out at 32 hours a week because they start, I got this job a couple months ago and they start everybody on part-time, and I'm definitely going to take full-time as soon as they let me because I need the fucking money. But the thing is, like, I feel like that's a higher burden, maybe not burden the word for it, higher impetus, higher motivation for training than a title or money. Is you're fighting for your fucking life. And I think that is just a whole different level of importance. It's the same thing that got me into guns too. I mean, ideally, of course, plan A should always be get away. Talk your way out of shit. Don't talk your way into things. If something's about to pop off and you can see it coming, get the fuck away. Run. Absolutely. Some people might think that that's, being a pussy or whatever. I would rather be a pussy and be alive than to be the toughest dead guy in the cemetery. I think it's a fucking no-brainer, in my opinion. And that should be plan A. And plan B is to fight physically your way out of it. If you can't run away, then you might have to do that. And then plan C is if you are being faced with lethal force from someone who seems to really want to kill you, I don't really feel like weighing who's the better fighter, who's in better shape. You might have to just fucking shoot them. or whatever you have to do, anything you have to do to see another day. I don't feel bad about that. If somebody's going to try to be a fucking murderer and they're going to target me, I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And there may be times too when you are faced with somebody who is in better shape, they're a better fighter, they're better armed and or more proficient with that weapon, and you might just be fucked and there's nothing you can do about it. And to me, that is not at all a reason to not train. Because first of all, the less you train, the less you condition, etc., the more likely it is that you're going to run into that person. Because the barrier for being like completely outclassing you is a lot lower if you're bringing like no skills to the table. But also, you know, even if you are highly skilled and you put in all this time and effort and money, you may still run into somebody who is just straight up going to kill you and there's nothing you can do about it. I at least want the satisfaction of knowing that I spent my last moments on this earth making it hard for that person. Because they're a fucking murderer if they're, you know, trying to kill me, because I don't try to start shit with people I have no intention to. So if somebody does fucking kill me, then they're a murderer. And anything I can do to inconvenience, hurt, otherwise make them regret their course of action, I'm still perfectly happy to do. And I think that's a constructive use of my last moments of life. You know, if there is an afterlife, then I would at least like the comfort of knowing that I fucked up their day at least a little bit as I'm burning in hell forever. So I think, yeah, train hard. Train as hard as you fucking can if self-defense is your concern. Um, I think it being a thing where it's like, I hope I don't ever have to use it. Absolutely. That's definitely the mindset you should have, by the way. You should not be looking for an excuse to go out and use this shit against somebody. That's the wrong way to approach it, and that makes you the fucking asshole. But you should also have it in your back pocket for sure. Definitely have it with you. Like, you know, the whole thing about walk softly and carry a big stick. Walk very softly and carry the biggest fucking stick you can find is my thinking as far as self-defense goes. Um, there's no place for a killer in this world, or a rapist or a pedophile or anything like that. And if you ever happen to find yourself on the business end of one of these absolute pieces of shit, then you're doing a public service if you wreck them. Don't go seeking it out, and don't become such a person yourself. But once you are the victim, don't let yourself just be a victim. Make two victims. Make a victim out of the perpetrator. And I think that's just way higher stakes than a championship could ever be. As much as like I hold plenty of respect for competitors, and I watch competitive fighting. I especially like, I'm a huge fan of Stamp Fairtex. There was I think it was one championship like a couple months back. She fought Supergirl, and that was a great fucking fight, by the way. Like, great sportsmanship on both of their parts, as far as like, you know, as soon as the fucking bout was over, you would almost think they were friends. Like, they're so cool with each other. But also they're just very skilled fucking fighters. It was a joy to watch for all fucking reasons. And that's just what I think the sport should be. I hate the Conor McGregor school of being an absolute cunt at every opportunity you're possibly presented with to be a piece of shit. I hate that. That's fucking cancer in the sport. But yeah, as much as I respect them and I think what they're doing is fucking awesome, I think you should be striving to train every bit as hard, if not harder, if your mindset is, this skill may save my life someday. If that's what you're thinking, then absolutely treat it like you are fighting for your life, because you kind of are. I mean, shit, I've got PTSD. A lot of you who have watched other videos of mine know that. It's pretty bad. I'm barely functional. My life is kind of ruined. Sometimes I have to take half a Klonopin just to be able to drive to work. Because I've had moments where I've had to stop and pull over on the side of the highway and just hyperventilate for half an hour before I could get my breathing under control enough again that I could finish driving. It's bad. And so there have been times when I've been in a class and I've started having a panic attack or whatever, because like I could tell that somebody was just completely outclassing me and there was nothing I could do about it, and I just kept getting put in a choke or some kind of a joint lock or something. And it's just like, wow, if this guy wanted to kill me, he could. He just absolutely could. If I wasn't carrying my gun or whatever, and I ran into this guy and he decided that he had a problem with me and I couldn't get away from him, then I would absolutely be dead. There's no question about it. I wouldn't stand a chance. And that gets in my head sometimes. It really does. You don't need to be that crazy about it, but I mean, it's something to think about. This dude was younger than me the one time that this happened, and it's a little weird to think that, like, yeah, there's people out there that are like basically fresh out of high school that could just straight up murder me with their bare hands, and I wouldn't be able to do much of anything about it. Um, it's fucking crazy. And the thing is, like, I'm not even. I hope nobody misconstrues it as bragging, because I'll be the first to admit. Oh shit! I just got a Discord ping. I'll be the first to admit that I'm a fucking pussy. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't say, oh, I lift weights as in, like, I want everybody to think I'm, like, big and tough. Like, oh, I lift weights. I know that I'm not shit. I lift weights because I have a lot of catch-up work to do. Because I know that most men are stronger than me, and that kind of scares me. Fortunately, most men mind their own business, but some don't. And again, me being, as I am, puts a little bit of a target on my back. And that's something that concerns me. And so I take steps to do something about that. Like, all the weight that I've lost, like, people think it's fucking incredible or whatever. And I mean, like, statistically speaking, it's unlikely. It's hard as shit to do. It's the hardest fucking thing I've ever done. I didn't do it because I'm, like, super tough and, like, a fucking spiritual warrior of, like, self-control. Like, no, I still have a lot of problems in that regard. I did it out of desperation and fear. Because I'm a massive fucking pussy. I'll be the first to say it. But the thing is, though, I'm weak as shit, and I'm also kind of dumb as a fucking brick. So if I can do any of this shit, then whoever the fuck you are, I guarantee you can. There's no way. There's very few people on this earth that are worse off than I am in terms of, like, mental toughness and intelligence. Like, I set the bar pretty low. So a lot of you just have no excuse, in my opinion. Like, if you can't outdo me, then I worry about you, because it's not hard. So yeah, I think take your training seriously. Train as hard as you can. That's my advice for somebody who's getting into self-defense or whatever. It's not something that, like, you can show up to a class once every other week, once a month or whatever, and expect it to go anywhere. Consistency is key. Volume is key. The more you can do and keep doing that load of that workload, the longer you can keep that up, the better off you're going to be. So, like, if you train, like, once a week at the actual, like, your actual martial arts classes, and you lift a couple times a week and you run a few times a week, if that's the most you can handle, that's fine. But keep that going week after week after week after fucking week for years. And that's how you get better at this shit. That's how you succeed. Training, like, every day for a week in terms of the martial arts, and, like, lifting most days that week, doing cardio every day. If you do that for 1 month, it's not really going to get you much of anywhere. If you do that all the time for years on end, like, first of all, holy shit, what kind of drugs are you on? You're a superhuman. And yeah, that will absolutely get you far. But the thing is, most people can't do that. They try to do that and then they burn out immediately because it's nigh fucking impossible. Don't do that shit. But also, don't put, like, minimum effort in. If you're spending a grand total of, like, 2 hours a week in between all of your weights, cardio, and martial arts put together comprises, like, 1% of your time spent during the week, you're not really going to get much of anywhere. Even if you go at it like that for a long time, that's a little, you're cheating yourself. You're kind of wasting your time at that point. You need to be doing a little more than that, but you also need to not be overdoing it, because you need to have a consistency for a long time. So you need to find that balance of going hard, absolutely, but not going too fucking crazy that you're having a hard time with recovery and the rest of your life is like suffering from it. You know, it's fucking good for you to go out and see your friends, have fucking rest days. Like if you're, because basically what you're doing is you're breaking your body down every time you train. And if you're training constantly, then you're just constantly breaking your body down without any chance for it to build back up. That's the part that makes you stronger. You know, you have the stimulus, which is the workout, but then the body's response to it is where the muscle comes from. So if it's all stimulus and no time for that response, then you're just running yourself into the ground and you're really going to struggle and you're not going to get as far as you could if you would just take a fucking rest day every now and then. But that said, you don't need 5 rest days a week. So it's definitely something to think about. I would highly recommend, for example, Dr. Mike Israetel, his channel Renaissance Periodization. Every time I go to mention it, I can't fucking say it, even though like I know the word perfectly well. I can't talk for shit. Renaissance Periodization is a YouTube channel. Dr. Mike Israetel. He's funny and he's super educated, and he puts his videos are formatted in a way that's super easy to follow, and he's got a lot of content out. You know, it's a lot of good content. I also recommend like Alexander Bromley. Both of these guys are more on the weightlifting side of things than necessarily the fighting side of things. As for like fighting stuff, I forget the exactly how it's written, but like MMA Shredded Jeff Chan, Hard to Hurt, where the 2 is the number 2. Gabriel Varga, Wonder Boy, Stephen Thompson. You know, those are some names to pick up, and you know, you can branch out into other channels from there, but just some basic recommendations. Watch some of this content too, incorporate it into your routine. You can't just watch videos and have that as a replacement for actually training in person. Absolutely not. But they will give you some education on how to like build your program and you know your nutrition, what to prioritize in training, etc. They'll give you a lot of good information, some valuable education to take into your training and your programming and everything. Um, you know, if your stakes here are life and death, then surely you can watch some YouTube videos and hit the gym, you know, once or twice a week and go to your classes. And I think that's a perfectly fine trade-off for raising your chances of survival significantly if you keep up with it for long enough. Um, so yeah, I don't mean to put anybody down, but I feel like a lot of people kind of phone it in, and you know that's fine. If it's not something you enjoy, it's not something you like doing, you don't want to do it, you have every right not to. But if you really are, if you feel like you are in somewhat imminent danger, as a lot of us in the queer community feel like at the moment, um, I highly recommend that you take this seriously and that you like put in a good effort towards it, because it takes a good effort to get much out of it. Uh, that's about all I had to say. I feel like so. Just a random fucking thought, something that popped into my head. I'll see you around.